Blackwood Village was small, quiet, and old. People said time moved slower there. But at the end of Blackwood Lane stood a house that time had abandoned long ago, the Harrington House. No one lived there anymore. No one dared to. Locals whispered that the last family who lived there simply vanished. No traces, no bodies, no explanations. One freezing evening, Michael Turner, a 23-year-old student, walked past the house on his way home. As usual, he kept his eyes forward, avoiding looking at the cracked windows and collapsed porch. But tonight something was different. A faint yellow glow flickered deep inside the house. Michael stopped, his breath clouded in the cold air. "There's no electricity," he whispered to himself. Just then, the door, always slightly open, moved a little wider with a long, aching creak, and in that gap, a human-shaped shadow stood perfectly still. It didn't sway, it didn't breathe. It simply stared at him. Michael blinked, and it was gone. He hurried home, trying to convince himself he imagined it. But that night, as he was getting ready for bed, something scratched at his window, soft, slow, deliberate. When he pulled the curtains, he found fresh handprints on the outside of the glass. Someone had been there. Watching him, Michael couldn't stop thinking about the house. Who was in there? How was there light? So the next evening, after hours of overthinking, he grabbed a flashlight and walked toward the Harrington house. The wind was still. Even the trees seemed to be holding their breath. When Michael stepped inside, the front door slammed shut with a force that shook the walls. He spun, grabbing the doorknob. Locked. He swallowed hard and whispered, "Hello? Anyone here?" Silence. Dust floated through the stale air. Every step he took echoed in the empty rooms. Furniture still stood where the last family left it. Chairs, cupboards, even a child's toy car on the floor. It felt like walking into a memory. Then he heard it. A faint whisper. "Michael." His heart hammered in his chest. He turned quickly. No one behind him. His flashlight flickered. The beam dimmed, then went completely dark for a split second. In that instant, he saw something on the ceiling. A figure crawling like an insect, limbs bending at impossible angles, its face inches from his own. When the flashlight returned, the ceiling was empty. But on the wall behind him, in fresh black writing, "Don't leave." Michael stumbled backward, breathing fast. Then the whisper returned, right next to his ear this time. "Stay!" He ran. The next morning, Michael's friend Daniel Hayes came over, concerned. Michael looked pale, shaken, and exhausted. "You look like you haven't slept in days," Daniel said. "I saw something," Michael whispered. "Inside that house," Daniel laughed nervously, but stopped when Michael's shadow stretched strangely. Along the floor, longer than it should have, been darker, almost alive. "Dude, what's wrong with your shadow?" Daniel murmured. Michael slowly turned to look. The shadow wasn't matching his movements perfectly. It moved a split second later. As if thinking for itself, that night, Michael woke up feeling watched. His room felt colder than usual. When he looked toward the corner, he saw a tall, still silhouette standing there. He turned on the lamp. Nothing there. But the next morning, muddy footprints led from the door to his bed. Too big to be human, too deep. Like something incredibly heavy had stood there. Then the voice came again, whispering from under the bed. "I'm closer than you think," Michael begged his friends. Sarah Whitlock and Emily Carter to come stay with him for a night, hoping the presence of others would keep the terror away. They agreed reluctantly. At first everything was normal. They laughed, talked, tried to cheer him up. But at midnight, every door in the house suddenly creaked open, one after another. Bathroom, cupboard, storeroom, bedroom. Emily screamed when a tall, dark figure appeared at the far end of the hallway, its neck bent to one side, limbs hanging like wet ropes. Sarah grabbed Michael's arm. "What is that?" But the creature vanished as quickly as it appeared. Moments later, Michael's bedroom door slowly pushed itself open. A loud, dragging exhale filled the hallway. Michael raised his phone flashlight. The shadow man stood in the corner of the room, still, silent, watching. Its head cracked sideways with a sickening pop, and a deep, hollow voice filled the room. "You should not have entered my house." Michael knew he couldn't escape it anymore. The only way to end this was to go back to the Harrington house. He entered the house at midnight. The moment he stepped inside, the walls shifted, breathing in and out like lungs. The air grew icy. A dim candlelight flickered upstairs, even though he hadn't lit anything. He slowly walked up the staircase, each step groaning beneath his feet. At the end of the hallway, a door opened by itself. Inside the room, the shadow man sat on a wooden chair, its long fingers tapping the armrest slowly. Tap, tap, tap. It stood up, towering over Michael, its face a hollow void of darkness. Then it pointed at the wooden floor. Michael looked down. Carved deep into the boards was a name. Michael Turner. Birth year. Death year. Blank. His breath caught in his throat. "That's me." The candles extinguished instantly. Darkness swallowed the room. Michael's scream echoed through the entire house. And then the village. But no one came. No one dared to. The next morning, the house stood silent again. The front door hung half open, as if waiting for its next visitor. Michael Turner was gone. And that night, a new shadow appeared behind the door, standing exactly where Michael once stood.